Abandoned asylum nightmare, unmasking the evil within. In the desolate heartland of America, where shadows cling to rusting metal and broken glass, lies Mercy Memorial Hospital. Once a beacon of healing, it now stands as a macabre monument to suffering and despair. Its corridors echo with the whispers of forgotten patients and the chilling screams of tormented souls. Tonight, dear viewers, we dare to venture into this forsaken sanctuary of sorrow, where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. A group of 4 urban explorers, drawn by the allure of the unknown and the thrill of forbidden places, arrive at Mercy Memorial under the cloak of darkness. Sarah, the de facto leader, her eyes gleaming with an insatiable curiosity. Ben, the tech-savvy one, his camera equipment ready to capture every chilling detail. Emily, the skeptic, her skepticism a fragile shield against the encroaching darkness. And Jake, the quiet observer, his intuition whispering warnings that go unheeded. "All right, team," Sarah's voice crackles through the static of their walkie-talkies. "Let's make this a night we won't forget." Their laughter echoes through the empty parking lot, a hollow sound that seems to mock their bravado. As they approach the hospital's entrance, a sense of unease settles upon them. A cold wind whips through the shattered windows, carrying with it the whispers of tormented souls. The group enters the hospital, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like surgical instruments. The air is thick with the scent of decay and disinfectant, a pungent reminder of the suffering that once permeated these halls. They make their way through the deserted lobby, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. The peeling paint, shattered glass, and overturned gurneys paint a grim picture of neglect and abandonment. "This place gives me the creeps," Emily whispers, her voice barely audible. "Don't worry," Sarah reassures her, her voice a forced attempt at bravado. "It's just an old building. Nothing to be afraid of." But as they venture deeper into the hospital's labyrinthine corridors, the atmosphere thickens with a palpable sense of dread. The shadows seem to dance and writhe, the temperature drops, and a chilling presence makes itself known. In the surgical wing, they stumble upon a room where the operating table still stands, stained with a dark, viscous substance. A single, flickering fluorescent light casts grotesque shadows on the walls. Suddenly, the sound of a gurney being wheeled across the floor jolts them to attention. Their flashlights sweep across the room, but no one is there. "Did you guys hear that?" Jake asks, his voice shaking. It sounded like nothing," Sarah interrupts, her voice sharp with annoyance. "Let's just keep moving." But Jake's unease is contagious. As they continue their exploration, they begin to hear whispers, faint and ethereal, seemingly coming from the very walls themselves. "Help me," a voice pleads. "Please, someone help me." The whispers grow louder, more insistent, as if the spirits of the forgotten patients are clawing their way out of the darkness. The group, rattled yet determined, presses on into the depths of Mercy Memorial. They reach the maternity ward, its pastel walls now stained and peeling, the air thick with a palpable sense of sorrow. In one of the rooms, a rusted crib stands abandoned, immobile with faded animal figures dangling above it. Sarah shines her flashlight into the crib, her breath catching in her throat. "Oh my God," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "There's a baby." The others crowd around, their faces pale with horror. Inside the crib, swaddled in tattered blankets, lies the skeletal remains of an infant. Its tiny skull is turned towards them, its empty eye sockets seeming to stare into their souls. Suddenly, the sound of a baby's cry pierces the silence, a chilling wail that seems to emanate from the very walls. The group recoils in terror, their flashlights frantically searching for the source of the sound. But there is nothing there, only the empty crib, the skeletal remains, and the lingering echo of a mother's despair. Driven by a morbid curiosity and a desire to understand the horrors that unfolded within these walls, the group stumbles upon the hospital administrator's office. The door creaks open, revealing a room frozen in time. On the desk, a thick ledger lies open, its pages filled with names and dates. Emily picks it up, her fingers tracing the faded ink. "These are patient records," she says, her voice hushed. "But the dates, they're all from decades ago." As they delve deeper into the ledger, they uncover a pattern of disturbingly high mortality rates, particularly among the maternity ward patients. The cause of death is often listed as complications, but the details are vague and unsettling. A photograph on the desk catches their attention. It's a portrait of a handsome doctor, his eyes cold and calculating, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Dr. Edward Monroe. Jake reads the inscription on the back of the photo. The hospital's chief administrator. A chill runs down their spines as they realize that the doctor in the photograph is the same figure they saw in the operating room. The pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place, revealing a dark and sinister history. The group's investigation leads them to the hospital's archives, where they discover a series of newspaper articles detailing a scandal that rocked Mercy Memorial in the 1950s. Dr. Monroe was accused of conducting unethical experiments on his patients, particularly pregnant women and their newborns. The articles speak of missing infants, botched surgeries, and suspicious deaths. The hospital was shut down, and Dr. Monroe vanished without a trace. But the rumors persisted, whispered in hushed tones by those who dared to speak of the horrors that took place within those walls. "He was a monster," Emily whispers, her voice filled with disgust. "And he's still here," Jake adds, his eyes darting nervously around the room. As if on cue, the lights flicker and die, plunging the archives into darkness. A cold wind howls through the room, and the whispers return, louder and more menacing than before. "We are the damned," they hiss, "and we will have our revenge." The group, now gripped by a primal terror, flees the archives, their flashlights bobbing frantically as they navigate the darkened corridors. The whispers follow them, growing louder and more malevolent with each step. They stumble upon a room labeled morgue, its rusted door hanging precariously on its hinges. The air inside is frigid, the metallic tang of blood mingling with the stench of decay. As they shine their lights around, they see rows of empty drawers, their labels faded and illegible. But one drawer stands slightly ajar, its contents shrouded in shadow. "No," Emily whispers, her voice barely a croak. "We shouldn't open that." But Sarah, fueled by a morbid curiosity that borders on obsession, ignores Emily's plea. She reaches out a trembling hand and pulls the drawer open. A putrid stench assaults their senses as the drawer slides open, revealing what lies within. But it's not what they expected. The drawer is empty, save for a small, tarnished locket. As Sarah picks up the locket, a blood-curdling scream erupts from the darkness behind them. They whirl around, their flashlights illuminating a horrifying sight. A figure stands before them, its body a grotesque amalgamation of human and machine. Its flesh is pale and rotting, its limbs replaced with crude metal prosthetics. Its eyes, two glowing orbs of crimson light, bore into their souls. The creature lunges, its metal claws outstretched, its ragged breath filling the air with a putrid odor. The group scatters, their screams echoing through the morgue as they desperately search for an escape. The creature pursues them relentlessly, its heavy footsteps pounding on the linoleum floor. They race through the corridors, their hearts thrumming with terror. Doors slam shut behind them, lights flicker and die, and the whispers of the damned seem to cheer the creature on. They find themselves back in the lobby, the exit tantalizingly close. But the creature is gaining on them, its grotesque form looming larger with each step. "We have to split up," Sarah yells, her voice laced with desperation. "It's our only chance." The group scatters, each taking a different path in a desperate bid for survival. But the creature is cunning, its senses heightened by a thirst for blood. Emily, her legs pumping with adrenaline, finds herself back in the maternity ward. She ducks into a room, barricading the door with a rusty crib. The creature's heavy footsteps approach, its raspy breathing growing louder. Suddenly, the door bursts open, and the creature lunges at her. Emily screams, but her voice is lost in the deafening roar of the creature's rage. She fights back with all her might, but it's a losing battle. The creature's metal claws dig into her flesh, tearing through her clothes and leaving bloody trails on her skin. Just as all hope seems lost, a figure emerges from the shadows. It's Jake, brandishing a fire extinguisher. He sprays the creature with the icy blast, forcing it to recoil. "Emily, run!" Jake yells, his voice filled with determination. Emily, battered and bruised, scrambles to her feet and flees, her heart pounding in her chest. Jake follows, but the creature is hot on their heels, its rage fueled by the pain of the icy spray. They race through the corridors, their escape route blocked by a collapsed ceiling. As the creature closes in, Jake shoves Emily towards a small window. "Get out of here," he cries. "I'll hold it off." Emily hesitates, but Jake's unwavering gaze convinces her. She squeezes through the window, her heart breaking as she hears the creature's roar behind her. Jake stands his ground, the fire extinguisher his only weapon against the monstrous figure. He swings wildly, but the creature is too strong, too fast. It grabs Jake by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Jake struggles, his eyes wide with terror. But as the creature's claws dig into his flesh, a strange calm washes over him. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out the locket Sarah had found in the morgue. "For Emily," he whispers, his voice barely audible. He throws the locket at the creature, the tarnished metal striking its chest. A blinding light erupts, engulfing both Jake and the creature in a searing inferno. Emily, watching from outside, screams in horror as the hospital is engulfed in flames. She knows Jake is gone, sacrificed to save her. Days later, the fire is extinguished, leaving behind only the charred remains of Mercy Memorial. The authorities rule it an accident, but Emily knows the truth. The hospital was a vessel of evil, a place where the tormented souls of the past sought vengeance. And Jake, the quiet observer, had become the final sacrifice, his selfless act bringing an end to the hospital's reign of terror. Emily returns to her normal life, but the scars of her experience remain. She is haunted by the memories of the hospital, the whispers of the damned, and the image of Jake's final act of bravery. One night, as she sits alone in her apartment, she hears a faint whisper, a familiar voice calling her name. "Emily," the voice says, "thank you." Emily smiles, a single tear rolling down her cheek. She knows it is Jake, his spirit finally at peace. And as she closes her eyes, she hears the distant echo of a symphony, a requiem for the damned, a song of hope and redemption. The tale of Mercy Memorial Hospital is a stark reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. The ghosts of the past may linger, their whispers echoing through the halls of forgotten buildings. But even in the darkest of places, there is always a glimmer of hope. The human spirit can endure, even in the face of unimaginable horror, and sometimes the greatest sacrifice is the one made for love. Subscribe for more chilling tales. Share your own stories of abandoned places and the mysteries they hold.